Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on a reel that a fellow brought to me as a flea market find. He told me he paid $10 for it. This is a Penn Surfmaster 200, probably from the 1970s, maybe the 60s. It's got the etched side plate with the Surfcaster and reads Penn Surfmaster, Penn Fishing Tackle Company, Philadelphia. Well, this is a case of the squeaky reel gets the oil. Seems to run fine, but it's talking to you, and that says that it hasn't been serviced in a while. And if you have the opportunity to purchase one of these at a flea market, these do have the single screw take-apart system to them. So you may want to ask that vendor if it's all right for you to remove that side plate and take a look. To remove the side plate, you pull out on that screw. And yeah, this one's actually in nice condition internally. Externally, it's got some rash on it. But we're going to take this reel apart. Started to already. We're going to service it, show you how this reel comes together, teach you how to do it yourself, and we'll give you a little bit of a look inside the reel if you're not interested in servicing it or want to know some more. This is sometimes called the Squidder Junior. It's not the Squidder Junior. Squidder Junior is the smaller, narrower frame of the Squidder, but it's kind of a Penn Squidder without the ball bearings that the Penn Squidder has. And very popular reel of its time. If you like these types of videos, if you like to see how reels are serviced and maintained, learn a little bit about their histories and how to take them apart, keep them running for a long time to come, well, then I would ask you to subscribe to my channel. I cover all types of fishing reels. Today it's a vintage Penn. Tomorrow maybe the latest Shimano or anything in between. I don't know. We'll see what comes up in the mail, and that's what we do. So if you do like that stuff, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please use the notification button. Well, I showed you how to take that side plate off while I was at it. I figured I would just leave it on there. It's easier to get that button off this way. Very clean side plate. So what we're going to say is it's lack of oil and greases, and it's a dead dry inside here where that bearing is. So we know that that's going to be an issue there. I like to do a couple of things when I service a reel. One of them is to make sure that it gets cleaned. If you get a situation with some rash or corrosion on it, there's a couple of things you can do. One of them is to use a pre-cleaner. I used Flitz metal pre-cleaner on this one. Took off some of the greening, but the pimpling and the pot marking is still there. I'm going to use a 4/0 steel wool to see if I can't work that down a little bit. I'm going to use a chrome polish or a metal polish. This one's a turtle wax. Don't go looking for this bottle. They've just changed over to a different bottle, but I still have a little bit left in this container before I go getting the newer one out. And well, that pre-cleaner and a little bit of 4/0 steel wool is going to take most of that roughness out. And you do want to remove the roughness because it will cut the line if it's coming over the bars. So make sure that if you have the opportunity to clean a reel, that you go ahead and do that as part of your service. You know, it doesn't make any sense to spend 15 or 20 minutes taking care of the mechanicals, putting the greases in it, and not cleaning up the reel. Sort of like you take your car in for a tune-up at the local dealership. Even they wash the car or most of the time, they'll wash the car when they're done. And it's a good idea for you to keep the reel clean just like that. Well, it didn't take much, did it? Didn't take much. It's shined it up a little bit. It's gotten rid of the pot marking on it. And it's going to make a nice appearance overall. The fellow tells me he paid $10 for the reel because it was squeaking. He knows the reel's worth more than that. And he just asked me if I could service it. He wants to take it fishing. We're in that part of the year now. We're in the fall, and we get blackfish or tog, short for tautog, up here in the Northeast. It's a nice eating fish. They kind of feed on crabs. They're rock dwellers or structure dwellers, and this will make a nice reel for that. I'm going to take some fishing reel grease and apply it to that backside bearing there. While I'm at it, might as well clean the spool. We'll do that again. There's a little bit of greening on here that didn't wash off with that pre-clean. And I like the 4-0 steel wool. It's a polishing steel wool. It's not a very aggressive or abrasive steel wool. And if you use that metal cleaner with it, it generally does a nice job of removing the, well, you saw the pitting on the arms and the crossbars. Well, this will just do a nice job here as well. You can see how it just sort of polishes that right up. And then just as long as I have my brush out here, just a little dab on there. We can put that into our case and be assured that that's not going to scream any longer. Let's go over to the business side of the reel then. We've already removed the handle nut. Do the same thing. You have the polish on that steel wool, so go ahead and clean off the handle. Now, this reel has been around for a long time, not this particular reel, but the model. That Surfmaster, I think it was originally introduced in the 1940s. You can tell one of the thing about the age of the reel by the handle. This one has a broader football type Bakelite handle. The earlier ones, they're more narrow and they're pointed at the ends. So if you have one of those, it's an earlier version of the reel. We're going to remove the star adjuster. And generally speaking, what I like to do with these is I like to just clean them as I take them off. Kind of following a little pattern here. And then when I'm done, anything I take off of my reels, for the most part, I put into a parts tray. So I'll put the handle in there and the star adjuster in there. The parts tray I use is the bottom of a fast food container. And it's a nice place to gather your pieces and parts so that when it comes time to reinstall, you know where they are. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can manage the parts that you remove. Mine is kind of organized chaos. I just put them all in different corners of that parts tray. Some folks like to lay them out on a towel or something in the order that they've removed them. Well, I just keep changing my orders, so that doesn't necessarily be good or bad, but if that's the way you like to work, that's fine. Okay, when you go to remove the bridge, make sure that your eccentric is up. I push the 4 screws through on my table. There's 2 different types of screws. There's a fully threaded screw and a partially threaded screw. You should note where they came out of. The fully threaded screws come out of the 2 on the bottom. The partially threaded screws actually have a jacket for the springs off the yoke. They go up top. With those screws removed, push through, and I cup my hand. There's a spring behind here for the anti-reverse dog. I don't want to lose it. So I push the bridge through, gently turn it over, and in this case, this reel was made before 1957. How do I know that? It has a flat spring for the anti-reverse dog. This is the flat spring for the dog, and that means that the reel was made before 1957 because in 1957 Penn converted over to coil springs for the anti-reverse dog. The other thing you can also note, the difference between the newer and the older ones, this has a very narrow anti-reverse cog on there. The later ones, it's broader. Okay. Well, this reel needs a cleaning. We heard it talking to us. Next thing you want to do is remove that gear sleeve. To do that, you can push a pin, this is the pin, through by using a small ball. And then you can pull up and out on the gear sleeve because you want to get all that old grease and dirt and debris off of that. To do that, I'm going to use a penetrating oil as a solvent. And what we can do is just wipe that off. Now, if you find that you can't wipe it off with a paper towel, then step up, maybe try a kitchen scrubby, and maybe you need that steel wool that we're using before to buff it. But you want to make sure that this is all clean because that anti-reverse dog, if you don't clean it up, it's going to get trapped there and not work efficiently. This is the groove that the pin was riding in. The pin that we took off of the gear sleeve, and that holds the gear sleeve to the bridge. Just clean that up. You want to examine the pieces and parts as you take them off, and clean, relube, reassemble. All right. Just a light coating of grease on it. You put more than that on there and it dries, it becomes like a glue. So just a light coating of grease on that shaft. This is the shaft that, if you follow the instructions on the little handle screw, it says oil. Now, if you remove that and you did not remove the shaft, you could oil through the top there. Okay, that turns nice and free and easy. We'll set that to the side. We've got a couple more things here, so let's take the yoke and jack assembly off. That's the jack. This is the yoke. There's 2 springs in here. I'm going to lay them on my table because I'm going to put them right back in. You want to make sure that the case is clean. This is very clean. As I mentioned, it's kind of surprising because the outside would have said that there was more heavy use, and now that we know that this reel is before 1957, you can start to date this. This reel is over 60 years old. It's in very good condition on the internal side of it. This reel is going to fish for a long time to come. Okay, while I have the plate off, I'm going to take a scrubby pad. I'm going to take some Penn rod and reel cleaner. Just a little squirt. This stuff goes a long way. I'm going to just buff out the side plate, try to get rid of some of that old grease, some of the film and the like that's hanging on here. Let's just get that off. Clean it up nicely. This button has got some old oils that is shellacked on there, so I'll go to a piece of the steel wool there. And I'm just going to use that point of the awl here to get the little grease around that lever. Take the paper towel to finish that, and then we can go ahead and we can assemble the inside. This reel's certainly not going to look 65 years old, and it's certainly not going to perform as though it was that old. Okay, we've cleaned the exterior, we've cleaned the interior. Next part to do here is to put a little bit of grease onto the side case bushing, and we can reassemble. Those 2 springs go in the cavities on the inner side plate, just like that. There's a little bit of grease on the yoke, so we're going to remove that. And we can see why this one was crying out for greases and oils. There's nothing in this reel, so it needs a good coating. A little bit of grease onto the shoulders. Check your teeth on your pinion gear. Again, totally dry. Most of the time you would want to clean out the old greases and oils and the like. There's nothing here to clean out, and there's no residual behind it other than that little bit that was on the yoke. Okay, with that assembled, we can put that into the case here. Center the 2 holes of that yoke over the springs, press down, bring the eccentric up, and then the jack goes over the hooks around that post and over the stud here. That's your top end of the assembly. The bottom end of the assembly is going to be the drag washers. Turn your main gear over and poke them out. And I think what we're going to do here is take a look at these. These are leather washers. You need to make sure that they're flexible. If they're not flexible, if they break, then you're going to have to replace them. But this reel hasn't been used much, and for somehow, with all the missing greases, the washers have remained in good condition. I'm going to use a drag grease here. You don't have to use a drag grease. You can use regular grease. But this is Cal's Universal Grease. I put the grease onto the washer, and then I rub it in very, very hard. Make sure it gets into all of the pores. Leather is permeable. So you want to make sure that you get it into all those little pores so that it will keep that washer fresh. The grease isn't going to do anything in terms of drag performance. What it's going to do is prevent that drag washer from drying out, and if it dries out, it's going to crack. Right, these are all clean, so if they weren't clean, go ahead and use your steel wool or otherwise. There's two round ones with rectangles in the center. Those are keyed washers. They go top and bottom. The middle one has got 2 points on it. That's called an eared washer. That goes in the middle of the stack. You start with the drag washer. I'm going to do this again. Don't glob it on, but rub it in. Make sure it's all there. Now the middle one, you want to search for the 2 slots in the main gear. And you must make sure that these points are in those slots. You'll notice that because it's recessed once you do that correctly. If it's over the top, your drag stack isn't going to work. One more time on the lubrication of that last washer. And we can go ahead and bring the last one on. And well, this one's got a little bit of dirt on it, or old grease. This is a little bell washer. It's tension for the star adjuster, so make sure you put that one on there as well. Well, I just messed everything up because that red washer belongs on the bottom. So I'm going to take that drag stack out, put the washer back on, and then we'll put that drag stack back in there. And again, you want to make sure that that little eared washer in the center there is in the slots. In this case, it came out. All right. The only thing left then is that little spacer. This is a gear sleeve spacer. You got to clean that up too. You can see the old greases on there. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, if you'd like to know more about Penn reels of the time, there's a couple of good books out there about them. And if you're working on one of these and maybe need some hints along the way, just leave a question in the comment section. Actually, any reel you're working on, doesn't have to be this reel. That question I try to answer in the mornings, and if I can help you out with something, maybe get you unstuck in a reel service. Somebody just sent me a picture of a reel with a spring that they couldn't identify, and I was lucky enough to be able to identify it. Well, if you can do that, or if you need to do that, please go ahead and do that. I try to help. This is your anti-reverse dog. And we have a flat spring here. So the flat spring is going to ride on top of the dog, around the post, and seat on that side plate there. So this is how your anti-reverse dog spring is going, laying on top of the dog, behind the post, to the side plate. Notice on this one kind of looks like well, an upside down number 9 or the letter G, I guess. So the part that's flat lays on top, and the part with the little bell bottom, that stays on the bottom there. Okay, rotate that once you've done that, center your screw, and tighten up the... Now don't tighten that all the way. You got to put 3 more screws in there. What I like to do next is go to the tops. These are partially threaded screws. As I mentioned, there's a little jacket on there to go through the spring so that the spring doesn't get caught on it. And again, I'm not tightening all of these down. I'm simply making sure that they get started in that bridge in the back. If you don't feel it getting started, then what you want to do is you want to just turn it over and look. You may be out of alignment with it. Okay, once you get the 4 in, reverse your pattern. I use an X pattern here. So I go bottom, top, top, bottom. And you can turn it now and make sure everything's working. The one piece that we didn't get a chance to lubricate is on the jack here. That's going to slide between the bridge plate and the yoke. All right, grab our star adjuster now. Next up is the handle. And I think everybody would probably agree, for a $10 flea market find, this one was exceptional. It's worth more than that. And well, I think my buddy did good. So he's looking forward to the blackfishing season. I think he's got a nice reel to do with it. I think he'll load this up with 15 or 20 pound test monofilament. And he should do very well working them in. This is a reel that doesn't have a very high retrieve rate. I think it's probably maybe 2.7 to 1, maybe 3 to 1. It's not a high-speed reel. That's okay when you're fishing in the rocks and in structure. He's only going to be down, I don't know, 20 to 50 feet most of the time when they fish those rocks. And you don't need a large capacity reel, but you do need one that's going to be able to fight the big fish. These fish can get pretty big. All right, a little bit of grease onto the spool shaft. I like to make sure that the free spool is off, or flip off, and put it in, turn it a little bit. Take a look here, make sure that your screw lines up with the hole in the side plate, and then tighten down that adjuster. I heard the click go on, that's always a good thing. We'll give it a spin and a test. It's running nicely. I just want to clean up a little bit of the cosmetics here. I didn't do the back end of this, so grab that pad with the rod and reel cleaner on it. Do a nice polishing job there. And the other thing I got to do for my buddy, he asked me if I could find the rod tie down. I may have an extra one laying around here, so I'll take a look. All right, well, this is it then. This is your Penn Surfmaster 200, made in the 1950s. It's in beautiful condition. This one's ready to go fishing again. Have a second chance. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. And if you want to see more of these, please subscribe. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. I truly appreciate your efforts. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.